Hello YouTubers, my name is X Factor. Welcome back to another episode of Battlefield 4 Tanker Tuesday, another round of Conquest. This is going to be Zavod, size large. That means little birds, transport choppers, AAs, and LAVs. So hats off to our AA for helping me cap flags, taking care of our gimmies, our E and F flags. But he really didn't shoot down or focus too much on air. But remember, the AA in his current state stands for anti-anything. It just destroys infantry if you've got the big 30 mils on there. Then of course the Zunis can basically take out anything LAV tank wise if you're pillaring correctly and timing your APS. So you're gonna see me move back and forth between A and F and position on C and D. I try not to get too greedy on this map because your tank can just get instantly owned. There's a million spots for bushwookies to hide, engineers to pop out from, support players running at you with their sandwiches when you're not hungry. It can just be nasty, including these rooftops at C and D. So if your air's up and you don't see much going on in the mini-map and you see the UAV swirling above, you can assume that you can get close to these buildings. The problem is that they're playing rooftop domination. The other team, they can drop those sandwiches over the side. One on the top is going to disable you. You're really hurt, can't move for a couple seconds. That allows the engineers or anything else to be dropped on your head or shoot you from behind. So you're seeing me rotate over here to help take out the big armor. The last thing I want is for the transport chopper to get behind us, which is going to drop off a bunch of bad guys, or an LAV, AA, or the tank to get around and cap one of our back caps. Because here's what I want to prevent from happening anytime I'm in armor. It can quickly get from the middle of the map to one of our back caps. The double squeeze. You're going to say, so what, they have F? Well, what happens if they spawn bomb it with 4 or 5 guys, they take E, or they just have F, and I come back, and it's a bunch of engineers. And I get spawn bombed on, or the RPG spam, and I pop my APS. That's good for a couple seconds, but the next volley is coming. So hats off to the AA, who is getting back and helping with E and F, giving him a love tap to remind him that there are air targets that at this point, he still hasn't shot any down, I don't believe. So we're having a little bit of fun being the secondary AA on the map. And quickly back up to CD. I see on my mini-map that there's some stuff going on, so I gotta be careful about these buildings. Maybe take a cheap shot on their piece of armor that might be trying to push back past A and B. And there we have an LAV. Get a 36 hit, rock back, pillar him, and try to get him again. But not to get too greedy, because I've got locks that I've got to pillar. And that's something I do a lot of times. And this is a cheeky drive-away. Had one lock, dropped it. Had enough time to get far enough around the building that I didn't have to blow my APS. And from that angle, more than likely, it would have been 30 or so damage if it was a javelin. And it wouldn't have disabled me. I would have been able to get back on this side of cover, and we more than likely would have been all right. And that is a problem. People parachuting out. So going back to this mini-map thing, you always see me bring up my major map. It's actually bound to my tilt wheel. My Cone XTD has a scroll wheel and it has a tilt wheel. So mini-map changes distances, 50, 100, 150, auto. I always toggle between 50, 100, and 150. As I get close to things, it's always the 50. Like this situation right here is great for that. And I'm getting pushed by the Zunimobile, so didn't time the APS properly. That was 0 damage. So you're going to constantly see me bring up the major map to see what's going on with their armor and if some infantry is getting spotted in the round. And the AA's got me boxed in. He did it earlier if you guys didn't see it, and he did it again. One thing I always do when pulling up against a piece of armor is I try to take a different lane. I try not to box them in. That's the worst thing that you can do, because more than likely it's going to get that piece of armor killed. You're down a piece of armor for a minute and a half, and more than likely you're probably going to die as well, because you're stagnant and allowing people basically to sneak up on you, and there's 2 pieces of armor. It's a huge target asking for mortars, the asshole missile truck, or anything else such as a UCAV flying in the sky to get that sweet juicy double damage. So whenever you pull up to a piece of armor, or there's a piece of armor around you, be careful. See if he's pillaring behind you, and if he's boxing you in, that's something you're going to want to check before you do the panic backup, which I did and got the rude awakening. So for the rest of this round, I basically constantly check my mini-map for this guy's position if we were playing close to the same spot. And there's some of those sandwiches. Might as well just bust out the AP shell, which gives me just a little bit more splash damage, and see if I can get a kill off the container. Either he's dead or he had moved. This is a spot I do not recommend a tank being on. D or C, because again, the rooftops, and there's catwalks up here. You guys have seen in previous versions of rounds of squad up that there's people that play those sneaky little catwalk spots. They're hard to get out of there, especially if they get a beacon, and it's hard to shoot with a tank because you've got angle limitations. We were talking about the verticality of an LEV or a tank. So be very, very careful. Just know it must be a dire situation, or you have to be positive that you have the roof at that moment, or there are no engineers or supports or recon spawning up there, because it could be a very bad situation. Quickly driving backwards, trying not to catch anything, going back to both of our gimme flags yet again because they're flashing. Our team did a really good job of responding, and that's something when I play a lot of rounds of Conquest that I seldomly see. You might see one person spawn in on a blinking flag, but that's not enough because they push 2 or 3. Or 2 people spawn in and they quickly get mowed down because there's 4 or 5. In my vast experience in the Battlefield series playing Conquest, it's easier to defend a flag than take all that time to take an open map like this where there's tons of armor and air than to push from D to B or C to B or A. It simply takes too long. But if there's 2 people on that cap and you spawn 2 people in, now you're even. Now you bought yourself more time for teammates to spawn in on that flag and help contest or simply win the burn back. Remember, it's doing whatever you could do to keep that flag from getting neutral when you can't spawn in, and he's getting out. That means you roadkill. A lot of times engineers get out in the backside of the tank, push their tank into the engineer, roadkilling. You will get that kill. Now he's down a rep person, and more than likely, he sealed his own fate. So there's a time to ram, and there's a time not to ram. A lot of times you see me ram based on positioning or specific tank battles. I usually bring it up as we stop the transport choppy from getting the backside of the map. So ramming is not always a solution, depending on what angle, what kind of topography you're on, or what's going on. You might be the one that gets popped up. He's shooting your underbelly. You have no shot. He's just going to pile drive you home. So this is going to be the end of this round. We easily won this round, as you see me kind of poking and prodding if I can ram. But I get snuck up on the 2v1 because there's going to be a little bit of a surprise of something right here. The LAV popped his APS, figured I'd sneak a shot in, but I met my maker. The good news is one of the Wookiees stayed in the tank, kept it fresh, but I actually lost control of it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys soon.